I think that the administrator was compelled to post on X because people looked at integrity of the Orion spacecraft as it was hoisted out of the water and onto the naval vessel. But what does the early data show you about how the heat shield performed? And basically, end-to-end, mission success.
Absolutely. The vehicle performed exceptionally well. We're very, very pleased with how it performed. The heat shield did exactly what it was supposed to do. It protected the crew and the vehicle from those very high temperatures that you mentioned. I actually got to see some pictures that the Navy divers took from underwater, and they looked all exceptionally well. You know, when you come in and you have that high heating and then the atmosphere, the wind and so on, you expect to have some discoloration from that experience. But all in all,
right,
the vehicle performed. The heat shield and the tiles on the top of the vehicle performed exceptionally well. We're very, very pleased. We're looking forward to getting more detailed photographs as we have the vehicle back in San Diego and on to Houston.
Hey, Kirk, that's just good old-fashioned rocket science for a flat-bottom capsule, right? How do you slow it down on the re-entry interface, bang it into a wall of air? I mean, on this program, we talked about how the fix, Artemis I to Artemis II, was actually the angle of re-entry rather than some kind of fundamental change to the materials or design. But with Artemis III, there will be some tweaks, right? What can you tell us about that?
Sure. Artemis III, we use the same shape of Avcoat tiles, but the formulation of Avcoat is slightly different. And so we're looking forward to different performance, actually better performance, and we can basically skip out of the atmosphere shortly and extend our downrange, which is really important for our operational constraints. So looking forward to a more operationally friendly heat shield on Artemis III and subsequent vehicles.
I mean, Kirk, there must be lots you're looking forward to and getting your hands on it back in Houston. And I'm interested in the early data, more broadly, the crewed feedback. What is the most important things that you've learned from Integrity?
Well, of course, everyone, you can imagine, we engineers are interested in every little detail that we learned along the way. I think the beautiful thing about having the crew back and talking about it is kind of what we've learned about our planet and where we sit in the universe. To me, it was so exciting to hear them talk and basically see the moon and ultimately our Earth through their eyes. It was just fantastic. Hopefully, you've had a chance to hear that, and if not, you will over the coming days.
It's a joy to see so many almost get philosophical in these moments when it comes to planetary exploration and the moon and just how we sit within this universe, and you too. But when you are thinking about how the engineers get nitty-gritty and some of the key things that you're looking to confirm before Orion flies again, what do you think is the most detail-orientated focus you're going to have?
Sure. I think everything that didn't perform exactly as expected on this flight are where we'll really dig in. Lockheed and NASA, spend all their time, or 90% of their time, looking at the things that didn't go right,
like
as opposed to all the things that did.
The toilet was one thing we were writing
exactly.
about. What other things perhaps didn't perform exactly as you anticipated, even if not badly?
Sure, we had a valve that didn't work right relative to the water, the drinkable water, the potable water system. We had a system that introduces helium into the propellant tanks as we deplete propellant. That didn't work exactly as expected, so we'll definitely dive into those issues. And then a few little features with telemetry that we'll have to fully understand. We think that's probably a software issue, but we'll understand it and correct it for future flights.
Christina Cook, mission specialist turned astro plumber. I don't know how you would describe that. I appreciate the answer of the things that didn't quite go right, and there's a data process, a review process, right? But what exceeded expectations? Everyone makes a lot of the idea that Integrity or Orion as a spacecraft is the size of a small bus, a camper van, 330 cubic feet, right? But it got them 250,000 miles plus from Earth around the moon and back, and by all accounts they had a great time. What exceeded your expectations, Kirk?
Sure. Orion has 12,500,000 parts, so most of those parts did exactly what they were supposed to do. I think the big surprise, or not necessarily surprise, but exceedance of expectation was the systems that keep the crew alive and happy, that scrub carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, that introduce oxygen into the atmosphere, basically all those systems that keep the crew alive and healthy, and that interface with the crew to the vehicle performed flawlessly. It was just exceptional, and that was all new for this flight. So we were expecting to learn things, but by and large, those exceeded our expectations.
Kirk, this was a great feat for NASA and for America, but we should be kind to your European colleagues, the European Space Agency, and the companies involved in the service module. Absolutely critical for life support and other critical systems. How did the service module perform to the best of Lockheed's knowledge?
It performed exceptionally well. We have a great relationship with Airbus, which is the industry partner in Europe that built the service module, and the European Space Agency. They were there in the mission control room, sitting right next to us during the entire mission, including the splashdown. And again, they were extremely thrilled by the performance of the service module, as were we. Of course, there were one or two things that didn't work exactly as planned, and we'll get to the bottom of those. But by and large, it performed better than we expected it to perform. It was exceptional.